Welcome to the Wisdom Inside Out podcast. Today, I am so thrilled to have a beautiful friend of mine. She's beautiful inside out. We met each other through work, Commonwealth Bank, I think one of the big banks. I'm on my bias, but she is one of the friends I really, really admire because it's just that time when you go through something hardship and you know who's is there for you, and that's always leave a memory for me. The time that she called me and texted me, even though we wasn't really that close at Commonwealth Bank because we worked from a different team. But I think she heard my story about my cancer journey from another mutual friend. She's always call and text and checking on me, and I have to say, all her message, all her support have given me so much empower to facing my problems. And I never forget like the feeling that she left. I love the quote people say, it's not what you say or do, it's how you left the feeling on touch people's life. And I really grateful for our friendship, for your kindness. But what more important about Tatiana, she going to share about her life journey, her separations, her cancer journey about 10 years ago. And we will be learning so much from her today. And thank you so much, Tatiana, for sharing your valuable time to talk with me and sharing your message, empower all the women or anyone going through hardship. I want them to feel how I feel when you were talking to me. It was amazing to have to knowing someone went through it and come out of it really strong. And I'm so grateful for you sharing your journey with us today.
Thanks, Lena. Thanks for having me. And look, sharing my story and just being a supportive person. In your situation, when, like you mentioned, we knew each other from work, but I found out about your cancer from a mutual friend, and I thought, you need someone in your corner who's been through what you're going through, because you go through various emotions and ups and downs, and you second guess yourself, you lose self-confidence. Like, there's so many emotions that you go through as you go through your journey. And I thought, you know what, I've been through it. I didn't have anyone like that, and I thought if I can help someone just to understand and just to be there and listen and just to help, I think that's the reason why I believe that I received a second chance at life. So that's why I do what I possibly can to help others who are going through a similar situation.
Yeah, mental support is really, really powerful. I have to say, at that time, especially when we're doing something for the first time, like, especially going through cancer, it's a big thing. And it was such a lot of relief for me knowing that someone gone through it, and then seeing her, like, she's so beautiful, she's so strong. It's just like a role model for you I can do it as well, because someone have done it before. It's just such very empowering, and I'm so glad that you call and text me, and until now you still always checking on me, and it shows who you are. It's so beautiful to have a friendship like this. Really grateful.
I think it's important to check on people. I think we become very complacent at times, where you are in touch with someone and then you think, oh no, they're okay, but deep down inside, it's not a short-term journey. It's a very long process that you go through, because you go through so many different parts of your journey, your recovery, and just trying to get back to some form of normality that you had before, because you come out, I think you can resonate with this, is you come out a different person.
Exactly. It's like we can't have the same mindset. If we need to overcome this problem, we need to upgrade our mindset. And this is when I start looking at challenges, problem now. It's like, oh, it's a blessing in disguise. It's here to teach me something. It's the power that I never thought I can do it, the power I never thought I can go through it. So beautiful. Only if you're comfortable, Tatiana. I know if you I know you're willing to come into the show, but I just wanna go in a little bit deep about your remarkable experience. If you're comfortable sharing about, you know, I know you said you didn't have anyone back then when you went through your own cancer journey, and not just that, you also experienced infidelity regarding with your relationship. And I just want to know, how do you cope about, because to me, going through it with 12 months of chemo and cancer journey, I have a lot of support. I have so many people from work supporting, like even the managers and stuff, they're really supporting. um I have so much family from my side and my husband's side. We have so many people taking me to chemos, and my family's taking care of my kids, like in terms of my brothers, pick them up and stuff like that. So they make my life a lot easier. I just literally just focus on myself. So when I heard your story, it made me feel like my problem's nothing. So are you okay or comfortable to share what has happened during that time when you first find out about your cancer, and also find out about your long-term cheated relationship, if you're comfortable sharing about it, and how are you coping about it?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to share all aspects, because I think it's helped me to become the person that I am today. And I think it's given me the empowerment that I needed to be able to get to where I am, and to be the person that I am, and to be as happy as I am.
Yeah, you just make everything so. I didn't know you went through it. Like, knowing you at work, I didn't know what had happened to you. All I know, she's so easygoing. But until, like, I heard from you as well about your cancer and what happened, I was like, wow, that's amazing, and it makes you even more beautiful.
Oh, thanks, Lena.
Yeah. So how do you go? Like, how do you, if I were to have a camera in your house, what would I see the incident back then, if you're comfortable sharing?
I was in a bit of a turmoil, because I had been told at work that I was being made redundant. So it kind of hit me really hard, thinking, I wasn't going to have a job after a certain period of time. But then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take some me time, being a full-time working mum with 3 kids. I thought, you know what, I'll take a couple of months off and do my own thing, and then look for another job. Jobs are easy to come by. So, well, it didn't actually work out that way. I found a lump in my left breast, and at first when I felt it, I didn't really think much of it. But the funny thing is, I lost both my parents. So I lost my mum when I was 19, and I had a very close relationship with her. And my mum has only come to give me advice or to warn me about something twice in my life. And when I found the lump was when my mum came and warned me that I had a lump and it was cancer. And I was really taken back from it, because I was like, am I imagining something? Like, I could hear my mum's voice very clearly in my head, telling me that I needed to check my left breast. And I kind of ignored it, and then she asked me again, check your left breast. So I did, and that's when I felt the lump. And that's when I was like, this isn't right. I check my breast all the time. I've never felt this before, and it felt quite large. It felt the size of a golf ball. So it was actually quite big. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to the doctors tomorrow and just get it checked. It's probably nothing. It's probably just an infected, gland or something. And that's when the roller coaster started for me. And it was the quickest, fastest roller coaster that I've ever been on. And I had no time to really think, grasp, or understand what was going on, because everything was just, it was like somebody talking to me in a foreign language. That's how it felt like at the time. I went to the GP. He felt it, sent me straight for a mammogram and an ultrasound. Had both of them done. When I finished the ultrasound, the receptionist said to me, and I picked up my results, she said to me, you need to go and visit your GP immediately. And she had a very serious face. And I thought, geez, that's weird. I've never had anybody, when I've had anything done, say to me, you need to go immediately. Back then, because this is 12 years ago now, back then you got the results. So you got the letter in there to tell you exactly what was, found. So I opened it, and that's when I read the words that said metastasized whatever cancer. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's cancer. I'm like, I can't believe, like, why me? Why is this happening to me? So I went to the doctors straight away, and he said to me, look, it's probably stage 1 breast cancer. He says, we're not going to know exactly what we're dealing with. He said, but we need to start working on it fast. So I was booked in for a biopsy, then had the biopsy, went and saw the cancer breast specialist as well. And he also said, look, it's probably just stage 1 breast cancer. He goes, it's, if it's stage 1, he says, it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, nothing to worry about. So I was like, oh, okay, no worries. Went in for a lumpectomy pretty much straight away. And after I had the lumpectomy, that's when it all went downhill very quickly. I went and saw him for the results, and he said to me, I don't have good news, I've got bad news. And I'm like, oh, I wonder, probably just going to have chemo or something like that. That's how I thought he was going to tell me what the bad news was. In actual fact, it was, he goes, you're not stage 1. He goes, you are stage 3, bordering stage 4. And, when they tell you bordering stage 4, that means you're terminal. And I was like, no, this is not going to happen to me. This is not going to be how I am going to leave this world. I'm not ready. I'll choose when I'm ready to go. And that was my mindset from get-go. So I had to make a very quick decision right there on the spot. He said to me, we need to remove your left breast, because that is the only way that we're going to be able to help and save your life, if it's possible, because he said it depending on how many lymph nodes were affected in my left arm. So when I went and got the test done for the lymph nodes, unfortunately more than half of my lymph nodes were affected with cancer. So I had to have all lymph nodes removed, because it was going to mean that it was going to help with the cancer hopefully not spreading throughout the rest of my body. So he said to me, he goes, you've got one choice, or you've got a second choice. First choice is we remove the left breast. Second choice is we remove both breasts. I'm a very busty person, and I thought, you know what? They've had their purpose. I've had 3 kids. They've done what they needed to do. I need to save my life. So I said to him, no. I said, let's go in and let's just get both of them done. I said, I don't want to be down this track further down the line where I have been diagnosed yet again with breast cancer in my right breast. I said, no, I want to get rid of both of them. I want to fight for as much as I possibly can to save my life. So went for the double mastectomy, and when they did that, they found that I had aggressive cancer. He said that the cancer probably only started, he goes, maximum 4 months. So I was diagnosed with the breast cancer in March, and I was in surgery April, and then April again to have the double mastectomy. And then he said to me, look, because it's such a huge operation, we have to wait at least 6 to 8 weeks for you to recover before we can start chemo. He goes, we have to go straight because the cancer was so aggressive. And he goes, the chemo that they were going to be giving me was going to be quite harsh. And he goes, they can only do it every 3 weeks. After the first session, he goes, you're probably not going to be able to do very much. He goes, you're going to be probably in bed for most of that time. And I thought, surely that can't be the case. So started with chemo, and I had to do 8 weeks. No, not 8 weeks. I had to do 4 months of chemo because I had to do this harsh chemo. So I went in for the first session, and at that stage, I had to tell my kids of what was going on. And I can tell you that it was one of the hardest things for me to have to do, is to sit my kids down and to tell my kids what was going on, because I didn't want them to know until I actually knew what was going on myself. Because I don't want them to hear, oh, you know, you've got cancer, but we don't really know what's going on. So after I had the lumpectomy, the kids were aware that I had cancer. I think it hit them like a ton of bricks.
How old were they?
My youngest at the time was 14, and my daughter was 22, and my middle son, no, she was 24, and then my middle son was 19, 20. So they were adults, but I'm their mum. They found it very hard to understand that, you know, for them, cancer is someone dying, because I lost both of them to cancer.
Yeah.
So to them, you know, mum's going to die. She's got cancer. And I was very honest and upfront with them as to every stage that I was going through, how bad it was. I never lied to them, because I thought, you know, what if I don't want them to think that I lied? I think that would have been worse for them.
Yeah.
To have lied about the diagnosis, where I was with it, and what was going on, and what had to happen. So it was them that was very hard for me to have to tell. But then also it was telling my brother, because it's just me and my brother. That's all the family I have, because I don't have my parents. So having to tell my brother that I had cancer was also very hard. I was a blubbering mess, because I said to him, I know what this means. I said, but I'm not going anywhere. I said, I've decided that it doesn't matter what they say and how they tell me that things are looking and how bad things are. I said, I'm not going to let it take me down. I said, I'm not ready to die, because I was diagnosed when I was 45. So it wasn't an age that I thought, you know, women get diagnosed with breast cancer, because all I had known was women in their 60s, women in their 70s were being diagnosed with breast cancer, but I was only 44, 45. Why? Like, why? I mean, I had heard about Kylie Minogue getting cancer and very young, but I thought, surely, you know, maybe it's that's why people, you know, are getting cancer. Breast cancer is not something is in my family. Like, nobody that I know has had breast cancer. So I'm like, surely this can't be. So once I started, you know, I found out that I was not dealing with it very well, mentally, physically, because the chemo treatment was so harsh. As soon as I got home, I was in bed. I wasn't nauseous like that. I was just, my body could not cope with the pain. It affected my bones quite a lot. So I was on morphine for 3 weeks whilst I had gone through the chemo, because it was affecting my bones so much. That's how harsh the chemo was. I couldn't move. I couldn't get out of bed. If I moved in bed, all my bones were shattering in my body. So I tried not to move while I was in bed. Even breathing was painful, because as I breathed in and I breathed out, I could feel my bones. It was like my bones were being shattered each time I took breath. So I had to do that for 3 months, and I think the last 2 sessions of my chemo, I had decided I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. Like, surely if I miss treatments, it's not really going to make a huge difference, is it? I mean, my body has got so much poison in it. Surely it's okay. But then I thought about it. I thought, you know what? You're being selfish. You're only thinking about yourself. You need to think about your kids. At the time, I was still with my partner. You have to think about your partner. You have to think about your brother, you know, my nieces, my nephews, and my girlfriends. I've got a very close-knit group of friends. So I thought, no, you need to stop being selfish. Just do the last 2 sessions. So I did it. I finished chemo, and then straight after chemo, I think I had a couple of days rest, and I was straight into radiation. So I didn't really have a break. I didn't really have time to think about anything. I didn't have time to understand exactly what was going on, like everything that was going into my body. Like, yes, the doctors had told me, my oncologist had told me, the oncologist had told me, everybody had told me, but it was like I hadn't heard it because I couldn't fathom.
Process it. Couldn't process it. Everything went so fast.
Yeah, because everything was just so fast. Like I said to you, the fastest roller coaster I've ever been in my entire life. And I was like, no, I can't do this. Like, this is nobody should have to go through this. Now, one of the sweetest things that happened with my girlfriends when they found out that I was diagnosed with breast cancer is they were there to support me. They were there to listen. But they did the most selfless, beautiful thing for me. They all got together and they made a quilt for me. So 12 of them. So I've got 12 squares on a quilt with messages from them or something about them that they know I only know. And they gifted me that. So every take my quilt with me, because then I would have them with me while I was through chemo. And I would hold them tight, and I said, you know, they said, you know, we know we can't be there, but at least you've got the quilt and it's got us with you every time you go into a chemo session. So I used to take that with me every 3 weeks to chemo and wrap myself, because as you would know, you get really cold with chemo. So they did that for me, and that's something that I have treasured since they gifted me that. I used to have it on my bed before. I don't anymore because I don't want it to get dirty. So it's back in the little box, and I do take it out every so often, and I cherish it because it was such a selfless, beautiful gift that they gave me. Like, it's a quilt filled with love.
Yeah.
Very thoughtful. Have a lot of people in my corner. What I mean is, as you would know, I didn't have my mum and dad, and I think when you go through something like this, the first people that you go to is your mum and dad. But I didn't have that. But I did have my children, my girlfriends, my brother, that I could go to. But I did feel guilty about having to tell them and you know how I was feeling, and always trying to make it, you know what, it's bad, but you know what, it's good. I feel okay. I didn't want them to feel bad about what I was going through.
Mm.
So when I finished my radiation, I think that's when it all hit me. I think because I was able to land, if you know what I mean, like, because I'd been on that roller coaster non-stop since I was diagnosed till chemo and then radiation. And then when it stopped, I was like, what have I just gone through? Like, the last 8 months have been the craziest 8 months I've ever had to go through. And I was doubting myself a lot. I would look in the mirror and I would say, oh, you look pathetic, like you look sick, you look like you're dying. And I started with affirmations. So every morning I would look in the mirror and I would say an affirmation. And that actually helped me to start looking deeper than just the external. And I started doing that. Started to feel a bit better about myself, better about my situation, the cancer part, and the fact that I was told you've got 50% chance of survival, and I don't know whether that is going to increase or whether that's going to decrease until you hit the 2-year mark. So I had to take medication in the meantime for 2 years, just to see. So I was still going back to my oncologist quite regularly for tests, blood tests, and all the rest of it. And then I decided, you know what, I want to go back to work. So I told my partner, you know what, I want to go back to work. I need more than just sitting at home and thinking about, is it going to come back? When is it going to come back? Am I surviving this? You know, because you go through all these things in your mind.
Yeah, can't avoid it. Yeah, definitely.
You can't, because you're just in your head. That's how I was in my head too much. So I thought, but if I go back to work, maybe that's going to help me. So I did go back to work, but I found it really hard, one, to concentrate. You know, when they chemo brain, that is an actual thing, chemo brain. I had so much fogginess in my head. I just couldn't understand why I felt so foggy. Like, I couldn't think. I keep station for long periods of time. I couldn't process it at times, and I thought maybe I pushed myself too much. Now, within that period of time when I went back to work, trying to get back into a normal sense of life, I think I was hitting myself, trying to get myself into a normal sense of life. That I don't think that is a realistic thing for that you can do. Like, you think, you know what, I'm just going to go back to how things used to be, but you do, because you've been through such a journey, you've been through so much, and you start to realize that, you know, working, yes, it pays your bills, but you know what? That's not the end and be all, because you're just a number at the end of the day, regardless of where you work, just a number. The only people that really care about you is your family, your friends.
Exactly.
They're the only people that care about you. Work doesn't care about you, because if I was to drop dead, they would replace me immediately.
Straight away.
Do you know what I mean? So that's when I started to think about, like, why did I go back to work so quick? Why did I do this myself? I think it was because, like I said, you know, I was in my head too much while I was sitting at home. So I started to look at other options, like, what else can I do with my life? I don't want to do the same thing that I was doing before. I want to do something else. Not thinking that, you know, looking after me was going to cause my partner to get too close with a work colleague of his at work, and start cheating on me. So this is how the infidelity came about.
After you finished the whole chemo?
After I finished chemo, after I finished radiation, he started to be really weird. But I didn't pick up on it then. When I look back now, I think there were signs there all the time, but I think because you're with somebody for so long, like we had been married at that stage for 25 years, we'd been together for 27. So I was married at 19 and I had my first child when I was 20, very young.
Yeah.
You don't really want to believe that your partner is going to be doing something behind your back. And if he was unhappy or there was anything, like he would, have the decency to talk to you about it, So there were signs there along the way that I didn't pick up on, but then I think I woke up to it. So I did confront him, and he stated, no, we're just friends, she's a single mom with 3 kids and sometimes she needs help. And I'm like, well, you're my husband. You're not her partner, so she needs to find a partner, rely on her family. Can't be relying on you. You're just work colleagues. There's nothing going on sort of thing.
Sorry to cut you off there. How can you pick up at that time? Because you have a lot going on in your life as well. What's your gut intuition or instinct that tell you there's something suspicious?
I had a gut feeling. Because every time he would say something to me, my gut would just go into, like I had, in certain ways, I think I had elephants in my stomach. But I didn't realise that that's what it was. And then I noticed that he put a PIN code on his phone. And we always used each other's phones for, calling people or using the internet or whatever. I didn't have a PIN code on my phone. On his phone, and I thought that was really weird. And I asked him about it. Oh yeah, it's just for work and stuff. And I'm like, okay. I didn't, second guess. No. Yeah. It was like, okay, makes sense. Maybe, your phone on your desk, people will open it and do stupid things, that can happen. So I thought, it makes sense. But then he was becoming less talkative. Like he wasn't a very talkative person as it was, but he was less talkative, less communication, wouldn't really kiss me, wouldn't hug me or anything like that. I was like, this is really weird. Maybe because he doesn't feel like I'm a woman anymore because I didn't have my breast. Because I did feel like that in the beginning. Like I didn't feel like I was a woman because I didn't realise how much our breasts play such a huge part of being a woman.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
You just take them for granted, but when they're not there anymore, it's like, oh gosh, I don't feel like a woman.
So true.
So we went away. He bought presents for her and for her kids. And I was like, what are you doing? Oh, they've never been, because we went to Fraser Island. Oh, they've never been here. And I said, well, how is that my problem? Why are you buying her gifts and her kids? Like, they're not your responsibility. She's not your responsibility. So we had a big argument. And then I let it go because he kept saying, no, there's nothing going on. So I believed him. It came to a stage where he just wasn't communicating whatsoever. And he actually sent me a text message. He didn't have the guts to tell me to my face. And he sent me a text message that said, I'm in love with someone else. You're at home. So I was in the bedroom and he was in the family room. And I was like, in my head, my background is I'm Chilean and we're very hot-headed. I am anyway. I'm very hot-headed. So I jumped. I went into the family room and I actually started punching him because I was so angry that he have the decency to tell me to my face. I thought, this is not a man who has no backbone, who has no decency, who couldn't be upfront and honest and tell me that he was unhappy. So as soon as that happened, I kicked him out because I said, you know what, I deserve better. I'm not going to allow him to be in the same house after this. So I kicked him out.
On that same day or after?
That same day I kicked him out. I said, get out. He goes, but I've got nowhere to go. And I said, and how is that my problem? I said, it's not my problem. I really don't care where you go. You can live on the streets. I don't care. So he went to his parents' place and he's never come back since. And, you know, it was, the way that I looked at it was, cancer didn't kill me. Well, at that stage, not yet. So I said, this definitely isn't going to kill me either, because I don't have the energy, I don't have the patience, and I don't want to have to deal with this. Because if you're unhappy, be upfront and honest if this is how you feel. Don't play games, think that that's okay. Once I kicked him out, I decided that, you know what, it was hard. It was really, really hard, because I felt like my whole world had come apart. When you've been with the same person for 30 years, you don't think that you're going to be alone. That you're going to have somebody with you for a long period of time, that you're going to, you know, retire, that you're going to live the rest of your golden years together. You know, that's how we make it look like, you know, that life is going to be bliss like that. So I decided that I was going to focus on me. And I set my kids down and I said to my kids, look, this has happened. I'm not taking him back. He's not coming back here. I don't want anything to do with him anymore. I said, but I'm going to start looking after me. I said, I'm selfish. I said, but if I don't, I can't be there for you. That's when my mindset shifted. And I think I'm a great believer that everything happens for a reason. Sometimes I can't understand the reasons behind it, but there is an alternative or an ulterior motive as to why things happen to you. And then I think everything comes together. At a point in your life, things start to fall into place and you think, oh, that's probably why. Oh, that's probably why.
Yeah.
You know, if you know what I mean.
Understand. Yeah. You can connect the dot looking backward.
Yeah. So I said to myself, you know, cancer didn't kill me. This definitely isn't going to kill me. So I started focusing on myself. So when I say focusing on myself, I started taking care of me from inside out. So I was doing a lot of meditation. I was doing a lot of walking. I was exercising 6 days a week. I was focusing on what I put into my body in regards to foods, cleansing myself, mind. Once I did that, and that took me, I think, a solid 12 months to get to the right headspace, to start feeling like a human again, like to start feeling like me, discovering the person that had for 30 years since I got married. And then what I did was I went and saw a couple of surgeons because I had no breasts. So I started to feel the need that, you know, I wanted to be more womanly. I mean, I had prosthetics, and they were fine. Like, there was no issues with the prosthetics, but I think because I got so focused on myself and I started to empower myself with how I wanted to live my life, who I wanted in my life, how I wanted my life to be, I think that's when I decided that, you know what, I want to be more of a woman. Not that I wasn't a woman before. I think that's just the thing that we go through. So I started looking into that, and that was my focus, was to get a breast reconstruction. So within a 12-month period, it actually eventuated. I had the breast reconstruction. Now, that was another hard thing to have to do because, as you know, with any surgery, they say to you, the chances of you coming out of it is less than 40%. And the reason why was because they had to use my stomach to deal with my breasts. The reason why they had to do that because I had radiation, so my skin does not stretch underneath. And you know how they can stretch your skin with the little they blow them up, that way they can stretch your skin and actually put implants. So because I had radiation, and because I had radiation for such a long period of time, my skin does not stretch, does not have any elasticity whatsoever. So they couldn't do that. So the only way they could do it was to have it up and then to get the breasts built with my stomach. So that was a massive surgery. So when I saw the surgeon, he said to me, look, we're looking at between 15 to an 18-hour operation.
Wow.
Be under anesthetic for that long. He says, so for you to be able to do that, you have to be healthy. He goes, when I mean healthy is your lungs have to have the capacity to be able to be for long periods of time with the ventilation that they give you and being under anesthetic. So I went on the waiting list, on the Medicare waiting list, because to actually have that surgery done privately, I was quoted between $26,000 and $30,000.
Wow.
I didn't have the money for it. So my oncologist said to me, look, there is, the Medicare, and she says all the surgeons on there, they're all very good surgeons, pro rata, of women out. So she said the waiting list is quite long. She said, if you can get through, she says, at least you'll be able to get the surgery done that you want. So
yeah,
I looked into it. I went and saw the surgeon. He explained, the process of it, and I kept going to the gym every six days a week. I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be at the gym by 6 o'clock, because I was working in Parramatta at that stage. So from where I live, it took a while on the train. So I did that. I did that for 18 months. And then they called my name up. I had to go in and see the anaesthetist. Yeah. And as part of that process, they put you on they do a lot of testing. So they hooked me up to a lot of machines to test my lung capacity, to test a lot of things. And that's where a lot of women fail, and they can't get the surgery done because they don't have fit enough to be able to do it. And because I've been working out, so hard and focusing on that, I passed all the tests, and they said, well, we can fit you in on this date. So I told my kids and I told my brother, this is what's going to happen. This is when I'm going in for surgery. They said, it's a 40% chance of me coming out because it's such a long surgery.
It's very high in medical, 40%.
Yeah. Because you're under so long,
yeah, high risk. Yeah,
it's a very high risk surgery. So I said, you know what? I know that I'm going to get through this, so and everything will be fine. So did the surgery. I came out, and my daughter was waiting in the recovery room. They let her come into the recovery room because she was very worried about me, and they were a little bit concerned because when they did the surgery, the chest was quite cold, so it meant there was not enough blood flow through all the vessels that they had to reconnect and everything. And I knew that. I said, you know what, it's just a hiccup. I know that everything's going to be fine when I'm fully awake. And then when I did wake up, everything was fine. I was in ICU for 5 days. And then, just the recovery from that was very long, because not only was I healing from my chest, but I had to heal from my stomach, because they had to remove a lot of my stomach to be able to build my breasts. But once everything was healed, I felt so much better. And I think I started to feel even better about myself. I started to really focus on me. Not that I wasn't focusing on me, but I was just focusing more on me. I said to my kids, you guys do what you need to do for yourselves. I'm always going to be here for you, but this is my time. You need to focus on me. And you know what? I haven't stopped focusing on me since. I am for one, and I always say that, if you remember, I said that to you, you have to look after you for you to be able to be there for your kids, for your husband, for your family, for your friends. Because if you can't do that, then you're not going to be there.
collapse.
You have to
Yeah.
you have to think about that. Yes, a lot of people think it sounds selfish, but it's not selfish. Self-care
Yeah.
that we all need to do and focus on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the culture has teach us that, you know, we have to do that, become that good girl. We have to take care of everyone. But really the root of everything, you have to come back to yourself first. We can't pour from an empty cup. And this is why we feel guilty when we start want to think about ourselves. We blame ourselves as a bad wife, as a bad mother. But how are we going to look after others? This is why I like the analogy of like at the aeroplane, you put on the oxygen mask on yourself first before you help on others.
Help someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to come back to look after yourself first. But I think this is why I say culture make us feel like we're selfish if we take care of ourselves first, because we have to do what they want us to do. But it have to come back to you, take care of yourself before we can take care of others. And that's what I learned as well from my cancer journey.
Yeah, because you have to look after you to be able to be there and look after others. And it's not selfish, it's something that we all need to do and focus on more. Because like you said, yes, culture has a lot to do with it, because, you know, I'm South American, and in our culture is a mother has to look after everyone, has to look after her kids, has to look after her husband, has to look after her parents, has to look after the in-laws, has to look after the dog, has to look after, you know, every other family member, but except yourself, because you have to be there for everybody 24/7.
Yeah.
But, you know, coming back to the basics is you need to look after you to be able to look after others.
Exactly.
And
yeah,
changing that mindset is a very hard thing to do, but once you do it, it's so easy to continue to do.
Exactly.
Focus on, because
yeah,
you know that is your ultimate goal, is to be good for you, to be good for others.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. Like, I learned the hard way. Like, I thought, you know, growing up, my parents like, you want to have a happy life, you have to be kind to others and that. And I've been doing that, and I still like, why is there something's missing? You know, I fully take care of everyone, but I didn't know, because I take care of everyone, but all this time I'm running from a negative energy. You know, you expect them to do this, do that, to fill in the gap that you were missing. And it's nobody's job, it's your job to fill in all those gaps before you take care of others. And this is why I'm so grateful for cancer, because it's like a big mirror revealing, Lena, this is what goes wrong, this is what you need to fix. You know, it's just like a big mirror revealing what I need. This is why external validation is no longer on my list. I just focus on myself, and everything on the outside is going to fall into place. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to the Wisdom Inside Out. Stay tuned. Please follow me on this social media platform.